So you've had the opportunity now to work with Steve James. How did that come about? And what would you say is the one thing that you've learned from him that, you've taken with you and taken into your career?
So Steve, I'm trying to think back. I met Steve a little bit after, or around the time of the Street Stops Here, the first documentary that I was able to direct. And the production company that we did that for, Teamworks Media, we reached out to Steve and Gordon Quinn to kind of get a quote, for our marketing materials. And both those guys were, they're part of Cartemplin Films here in Chicago, which is like a legendary documentary production house. They both were very willing to watch the movie and to give us a little quote for our marketing materials, for our one sheet and all that, our DVD and stuff. So that's how I got on Steve James' radar, I would say. I ended up moving back to Chicago at this time, and he was working on a movie called The Interrupters, which was about gun violence here in Chicago. And I just cold emailed him, and I said, hey, man, I would love to work with you in some capacity because, I love your work, et cetera, et cetera. And he got back to me. He emailed me back, and he said, I appreciate it. We're pretty much done with The Interrupters right now, but, if I have anything else down the road, it'd be great to collaborate with you on something. And he remembered the Street Stops Here and everything like that. I ended up doing another film for ESPN after the Street Stops Here called Goose, which is about Reese Goose Tatum, who's the first Harlem Globetrotter. Steve was working on a potential narrative project about Goose Tatum. He asked to see my film. So he came over to my house and we talked for a little bit, and I gave him a DVD, and we kind of, reconnected in that sense. And then a little bit after that, I don't think anything happened with his project. He talked about, he has this big epic kind of mini series he's trying to do, looking at race and education in the hometown that he lives in, Oak Park, Illinois, which is literally kitty corner to Chicago. And Oak Park is like a very diverse suburb, very progressive suburb. It has a lot of resources for its public high school, yet it has this massive achievement gap there. So it's how does this place have that kind of thing? So he was establishing a team of filmmakers to kind of dive into the school and follow, 10 or 12 different students over the course of an entire school year, and just to create this portrait of what life in this school is like, what life in Oak Park is like, and in essence, what life in America is like. And so that's how, Steve and I kind of connected through the course of that project, America to Me, which we did back in 2016, ended up being on Stars in 2018, and premiered at Sundance and got a lot of great accolades. And, was really an awesome opportunity to see somebody like him here. We mentioned Hoop Dreams, a movie that we all really admire, and then to be working with the guy who created that. The best thing about it is that you realize that Steve doesn't have any ego to him. He's not sitting there like, oh, I'm the guy that made Hoop Dreams, get out of my way, I'm going to do this or that. He's not like that at all. If anything, he didn't want people to mention it, He's got a great sense of humor, and that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned from him in working with him. Because in what we do in documentary, you need to be able to establish relationships with people. You need to be able to make people comfortable around you, and you need to be able to gain people's trust. You're not going to be able to gain anybody's trust if you're being an asshole to them or they don't like you, so you really need to be able to reach people on a human level, be able to connect with them. And one way he does that is by having a sense of humor. So I think I learned that, number one, from him, is to be light, caring, be a good listener, have a couple jokes in your back pocket, have some laughs and fun. And that's the way you can be able to, start to build relationships with people that you're following in a documentary film that you're doing.